Culture Crow gang. Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Yes.
Yes, metaphorically speaking, the Circle K is the world, and it has been closed for this thing that has been called the Great Pause.
Great Pause.
So,
I'd never actually heard it cause that.
Really?
That.
No. I hadn't heard it until Stu said it, and I'm like, oh,
really?
Yeah, I guess it's just not quite caught on over here, but I really, really like it. So fuck it, we're gonna run with it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because what else have you got to do in this time but look at your fucking remote control
and your mobile phone screen all day.
The Great Pause.
Yes, so the Great Pause, and so there's so much, despite the fact that it's the Great Pause. There's so much happening in the world, and not much of it is good. So we're going to treat this like Festivus, and we're going to air our grievances, probably.
Smooth.
Yeah, I think so.
What is Festivus?
So. It's for the rest of us.
Festivus is for the rest of us.
I didn't watch the show either, to tell you the truth.
What is it?
It's from Seinfeld. It's an episode in which the characters find... I don't know if you're familiar with the characters, Stu.
Yeah, no, I know Seinfeld. It's great.
Okay, so you have George's dad, who was the recently passed Jerry Stiller.
Yeah,
created this holiday because his son could not get this toy that he wanted as a young lad, and so he's like, "Fuck it, we're not doing Christmas anymore. We're doing Festivus." And so he invented this convoluted holiday, and part of the practice of this holiday is to have an airing of grievances.
Ooh, I like that.
That's following the feats of strength. And of course, after you decorate the Festivus pole, obviously. So, yeah.
Story of my life.
Yeah, might as well, right here.
Is it just like a pole, like you put pop cans on it or something?
No, it's a Festivus pole, Jeff. It's just a big metal rod.
Okay.
Like Have you never had a rod in your hand, Jeff?
Well, grew up poor. If I didn't have that, I would have had nothing to play with.
Yep, that's it.
Wunderbar.
I know. Stu had a barbecue this evening. So.
I did. Ooh. So and the wine is continuing. Hurrah.
So we have every clock is 1 o'clock.
And it's a Friday.
What? Okay, so let's go ahead and go on because I feel like we might talk for a long time. We might just agree about everything and be like, "Oh, this is so depressing. Let's move on." Anyway. There we go. So one of the things we need to talk about was something very early on in the epidemic.
Yes.
Pandemic. Okay. So, Stu, I don't know how bad it was for you, but from very early... Okay. For me, everything sort of shut down for the most part. Like, things started getting really weird that I noticed. Yeah. Oh, I should tell you guys a story here in a second. Things started getting weird, like really weird on March 13th, which was a Friday the 13th.
That's very specific.
It is. Well, I remember it very distinctly because it was Friday the 13th, and that's when I was on vacation, and I went home. But a couple of days, it was just like 2 days before that, or whatever, maybe even been a week before that. My wife has a friend whose auntie is higher up in the government, or at least she's associated with something. And so my wife forwarded me this voicemail that she had gotten from a friend. She forwarded it to me, and it was so bizarre. Like it was almost as good. Like it was almost so crazy as like Dr. Demon Semen that you may have been hearing about, right? Stu, have you heard about
Dr. Demon Semen?
Have you heard about Dr. Demon Semen?
No, but I want some.
No, you might get endometriosis.
That's true. It'll cause you infertility. There, Stu.
I've been trying for years. Nothing's going to stop me now.
It'll destroy your ovaries.
Yes. Or maybe just your anus. I don't know.
No,
Anyway,
so
we'll save Doctor's Demon Semen for a little bit later, I think. As far as get it, because I know you want to know. I'm gonna keep you in suspense. Okay, so anyway, so I got this voicemail my wife had forwarded me, and it was just so bizarre because it was like the government is anticipating shutting, businesses shutting down, stock up on toilet paper and paper towels and rice and peanut butter, pasta and all these things. And my reply to my wife was like, this is asinine. There's no way the world is going to shut down.
WTAF.
It's like 2 days later.
And then, right. The SpongeBob, 2 days later. It took a little bit of time for things to really shut down, but it was absolutely, just bizarre. And of course,
people were really worried about their buttholes.
Even
though it's
everybody
the other
turned
end,
into fucking Beavis and Butthead. It's like, dude, TP from my bumhole. I need TP from my bumhole. Everybody, TP. Have you seen my bumhole? It just went on. It was bizarre.
I don't want my butthole to get polio.
Exactly.
Oh wow. They're getting a reboot, by the way. I don't know if you've read that.
I heard, but then I forgot, and then you remember.
Hey about that. Anyway, so gentlemen, people went crazy for toilet paper and paper towels. I remember because I actually had a root canal, week before all this went down, and I had to go back for like a follow-up or something to my dentist. And this was before they actually started shutting the dentists all down or whatever. And I remember like, oh man, I can't find toilet paper. And it was right about when Target was going to open up. So I remember lining up at the Target in Tampa to buy toilet paper at 9 a.m. And I did. And then there was just like a mad dash to go buy toilet paper.
Luckily,
You queued for toilet paper.
I did.
Luckily,
I'm British and I don't queue for toilet paper.
Luckily, we had just got a gigantic container of it from Sam's Club. So.
That's the thing. Okay, that's the thing. We had some, but like I was almost in panic mode. Like I said, I got that message, and it almost proved prophetic. I'm like, what does this lady know? Oh my God. So I'm like, I better buy some shit, man.
Well, the opposite of shit.
The wiping of the shit.
Accoutrement for shit.
But did you not grow up in a time, maybe this is an English thing, but I grew up in the 80s, as you did. We were of the same age. But there was often a time in my house when we'd run out of toilet paper, and it wasn't unknown for us to wipe our bottoms on the local newspaper.
Really?
That sounds rough.
Wait.
That sounds rough.
Wait a second. I grew up poor too. I did do some of that.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's not that bad. It's not terrible.
But nobody buys newspapers anymore, Stu.
but nobody buys newspapers.
I would just be wiping my butt with my phone, and that's just disgusting.
No, okay, my partner. We get a newspaper every day. Sometimes today you got two.
Really?
Yeah,
you still get a printed newspaper.
No, you got the local news and the national news. You got the Guardian and the Cumberland News today.
Well,
I know it's a bad angle. I know it's a bad angle for seeing, but did your butt turn black from the ink? Little black butthole.
I know I'm bendy, but I do yoga.
Is it a little bit like silly putty? Was it like backwards?
That's what I was thinking.
You're trying to figure out what Parliament is backwards.
Luckily,
it's Boris is still a cock both ways.
You'll have some time to bash Boris here in a minute. Anyway,
luckily we always had either Kleenex or toilet paper.
Kleenex. Look at you bougie fucker.
He's so posh. So posh.
You must look up my nose.
No, it was. God damn, it's so funny. You did the same thing too. I would have never admitted that if someone had not otherwise admitted that, but like, wait, we did that. Oh my god,
it's fine.
Like notebook paper,
Yeah,
psychology notes.
the Bible. What's it useful?
Oh, sadly, not in my house. That would have been better. That would have been more comfortable.
Bible's like the ultimate one ply, though.
I know. It's easier to wad up. It's got that thin. Oh,
but you know what?
It's terrible.
With the New Testament and whatever, and the Bible, really good for rolling joints.
Really?
Yeah, it burns well. The paper's really thin.
Oh my. Okay, so as you can see here, this is something very much in line with an American mentality. I don't know how much of it went on over there. Was there actually like queuing for products and
I know there was in Australia.
stocking up and Australia.
Yeah, I saw reports.
Because I have this dual life between, well, not for the last few months, but I live in London as well as in Cumbria. When I was coming up north, I remember going through an underpass and seeing people with bags, like literally bags of toilet rolls. It's kind of in both hands, kind of going, this will last me for the next 5 years. I mean, really, how much are you going to poop? It's So,
hey,
don't
underestimate me.
That's right.
Jeff can shit for England.
I'm a father. That's my only alone time. So even if I don't, I make it. I force it out. Leave me alone.
Don't force it. You'll end up with piles. Nobody wants that.
I know, like Elvis, right? Yeah,
of course, when you force, you always end up with piles.
Yes. Okay.
That's what killed Elvis.
So wait, you know what? Since we were talking about it, what was and you were talking about going from London to Cumbria. What was your experience, Jeffrey, in entering the world of the virus?
Well, I'm a slight misanthrope, so
no,
not a whole lot changed.
Misanthrope, maybe a little agoraphobic,
A little bit, yeah.
The best of us are.
I had to wear a mask when I went to the store.
Wait, so basically everything was the same. Did you not notice the world changing around you?
Only if I looked out my window, or more likely on the TV.
Okay, because like you don't really watch the news, you don't read the newspaper.
I watch a lot of news, just
online. Oh, you watch like Young Turks and
Young Turks, my Majority Report, Kyle Kalinske, David Pakman,
but not like network news or even NPR. Sadly,
what's Young Turks? I don't know of Young Turks.
Oh, I'll let Jeff handle that one.
Well, they kind of started the whole like YouTube news thing. They were the first ones to get really successful at it and get pretty big. And
yeah, the main one actually got a show on NBC for a while.
But they didn't like some of the things he was saying. He was challenging people that they like to have on periodically, and he was actually like questioning their bullshit. And they couldn't have that because they might lose access. So he's like, I'm just going to go back to my old show. I'm going to go back to online where I can say anything I want about anybody. I'm not bought.
And he was still getting paid.
Yeah.
So. Well, man, there's that.
Fair enough.
Okay, so Jeff didn't really see things changing. Stu, you saw things changing as people carried their bags of toilet paper and prepared for the next 5 years. No, I remember like getting that weird. I actually forwarded Jeff. Did I not forward you that message?
Probably.
Okay, because like it was just so bizarre. Like I didn't believe it.
The empty shelves and stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, yeah,
that was it.
Of course, you think of Sam's Club, and there's this towering mound of toilet paper and towering piles of water, and I did go in there and it's like, wow, there's like almost nothing.
Yeah,
all the toilet paper, all the toilet paper, all the napkins were just gone.
That's true. Stu, what about your grocery shopping? How did you do that?
I only have pasta occasionally. So
say what?
I only have pasta occasionally, so it wasn't that much of a change. And I actually prefer to have less choice. It's one of those things. So when I went in a local shop here in Cumbria, there was a lot less choice initially on the shelves, and I kind of went, oh, thank for that. For me personally, it's I prefer having less choice than more choice, because it makes as somebody who's really indecisive, it just made my life so much easier. Going, well, there's one sort of bread you can get, great. There are three vegetables, fantastic. Okay, and I'm very inventive, so so basically my mind in a sense can pretty much do a lot of things with very little. So when I'm given a fridge full of stuff, which are not even full of stuff, I've given a number of ingredients, I'll make something out of it. So, you
are an excellent cook, though. You do have your own YouTube channel. We should plug that. Mouthful of Stew.
That is me. I do like an innuendo.
I'm a pretty good cook too.
Yes. What do you cook, Jeff?
Lots of stuff. A lot of Italian. I figured out how to make a good chili here recently, and very hot chili.
He does a good smoking of meat.
Oh yeah, pulled pork.
He does.
I've pulled pork and smoked meat many times.
Ooh. Okay, so going back here, I'm going to read I'll read the top quote. Stu, you can read the bottom one. It says, worldwide, people are experiencing grief and loss and not being with loved ones during their passing. Inability to be with loved ones. Receiving comfort at the funeral is excruciating and can become a lifelong trauma. Go ahead.
And socialsciencespace.com says, modern economies run on trust and confidence. COVID-19 is breaking down that trust. People are losing confidence that they will be able to go outside and get what they need when they need it. This leads to hoarding items like toilet paper.
I mean, that's what separates us from the animals, right?
That we don't wipe with our hands? What?
I mean, you don't see bears walking through the woods like wiping their asses with rabbits.
Super soft.
Yeah, well, it is, but this is what's like. This is our civility on the line. Our toilet paper inability to wipe the ass.
But I think this right. Okay, this is an interesting. How important is wiping your ass? Is the question. How? Because I mean, it's a functional thing. Yes, and disease and all the rest of it. And in India, for example, they have uses of your right hand and your left hand.
Yes.
One is for eating, and the other one is for wiping.
This is true.
Yes.
And okay, generally their health is
may or may not take a back seat.
I'm digging my own grave, yeah.
I mean.
How important is it? I've heard people in the past using shells.
Really?
What? Rocks.
No.
Sticks.
Rocks. The Romans used to use sponges on sticks.
I'll say Romans were sponges on sticks that they shared.
And here in America, we figured out if you split a corn cob and let it dry up, it was somewhat soft.
Up.
Oh yeah, that's why it's called your cornhole.
The cornhole.
No,
because they used to wipe with corn. They used to wipe with corn husks or corn cobs, dried corn cobs.
And we've learned, ladies and gentlemen, we've learned something today.
Yeah, this is culture.
But considering considering all the painful stuff people have used to wipe their butt, apparently wiping your butt's pretty important.
Yeah, well, I would agree.
You don't go grab the shell or the rock unless it's pretty important.
In my house, we do not have a bidet. Were we to have one, I would probably care less. But
that's the one thing I found with traveling in Europe. My mum lives in Italy, and I love going to Italy because of the bidet.
Of course,
it's a lovely experience. I mean, you come away from using the loo and you feel thoroughly cleansed.
Well, that's when you time it. Your shower shave,
shit and shampoo.
Shower shave shampoo. Wow, hey, how about that? Okay, so Yeah, we're going to be getting into the economics thing here shortly, but obviously hoarding, stockpiling, all that. So, Stu, how much rice do you have in your pantry currently? Do you call it a pantry?
A larder.
Oh yeah.
Traditionally in England, it would be called a larder.
A larder?
A larder.
You never heard of that?
Because it holds the lard?
Maybe it did. I don't really know, but it was definitely it was definitely called the larder for French food. But it's cupboards now. It's just cupboards, and we have 1.5 bags of rice. But we're fine now. And even I think at the start of lockdown, rice was a bit difficult. Pasta was a bit difficult.
Yeah.
But generally, it really wasn't a big deal. It wasn't. It really wasn't massive.
Okay, so Jeffrey,
we're growing potatoes now.
Oh, are you?
Oh, we are.
That's, I mean, if you can survive on Mars with potatoes and
I was going to say,
potatoes,
can you just skip the middleman and wipe your butt with a potato?
Yeah,
there are leaves as well. So everyone's a winner.
Leaves do.
Can you give a potato pink eye?
Can you give a? Oh, they do have many eyes.
But you might be able to give it the brown eye.
Oh, I like where you went with that.
I thought that's where he was going. There may or may not be gin in this tea.
There's definitely wine in this glass.
Huzzah!
Huzzah!
I had my CBD.
Okay.
Anyway,
is there anything else you'd like to discuss, gentlemen, before we go into the next topic of the Great Pause?
I think we've covered stockpiling, doomsday prepping.
Oh, I misspelled
doomsday prepping.
Oh, I didn't spell it. Sorry, I'm having
still waiting on my ammo.
Still waiting on what?
So I'm still waiting on my ammo.
What is it? Right. Okay.
Oh, yes, your ammo.
This is an interesting dichotomy between where we stand on gun law and your gun law.
Yes. Obviously,
I don't get it.
Which part don't you get?
Why do you need guns?
The redneck apocalypse.
Jeff and I need guns because, like, I don't know about. Obviously, we're going to be talking about politics in this episode.
The redneck apocalypse.
I'm just going to go ahead and air everything out. What Jeff says is correct. Like, I drive around with Joe Biden's support magnets on my vehicle or whatever. And so, of course, like, I don't drive around with my firearm, but Jeff and I both do own them. And it's more because we're afraid of the pro-Trump ultra right-wing wackos out there. Not to say that every person who's pro-Trump is an ultra right-wing wacko.
Right.
But I do feel some legitimate fear concerning some of those people.
There are tons of people who have dedicated their life to what they call boogaloo.
But what is boogaloo?
Yes.
Yeah, what's it called? Electric breakdance or electric
break electric boogaloo.
So
which I only know because of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
So boogaloo. They're referring to boogaloo as a code for the second revolution.
What?
So the second Civil War, the second Revolutionary War, and a lot of these right wingers have dedicated their lives to preparing for it.
Yeah, and it's associated with white supremacy and all that.
Is Jesus involved?
Bullshit. Of course, probably, Jesus.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's Come on. And it's like they won't
but
win.
One is Jewish and he's black.
Well, don't tell them that.
They're not going to like that.
I know.
They won't be pleased.
I don't know if he's black, but he definitely wasn't white.
Definitely was not white. No,
he's either black or Semitic looking.
Definitely Semitic, right?
Generally, if you're not white, you're probably black.
What about in between?
Along that scale,
for those types,
scale,
yes,
huge scale.
But anyways, there's enough people here who could make things miserable enough that you might need to defend yourself for a couple of weeks or a couple of days.
Wouldn't it be this from an English person's point of view? Wouldn't it be better if you just got rid of that law altogether and made guns illegal?
Okay, that is an interesting. I'm going to take this one if I may.
Well, I just want to add one.
Okay,
thing.
go ahead.
We have enough guns in this country to give every man, woman, and child at least one.
Yeah.
at least.
Mm-hmm.
Out of like 350 million is what we're up to ish. Well, maybe less post COVID.
And for some people, the Second Amendment is the only amendment.
That's what I was going to say. Is when it comes to American politics, and I actually recently did an interview for like a Russian website who are trying to explain to people back home in Russia, like why are things progressing in America like this? And so, one of the things that we have to understand is our society, American society, is obsessed with egalitarianism.
Right.
Even though, all people are created equal, right? That's part of our Declaration of Independence, is part of our Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Like, all people are equal, except they weren't, which, we know.
3/5 or something like that.
Yeah, right. When we talk about the slaves back then, and of course, we also know inherently that not all people are intellectually equal. So despite the fact that you don't want your news seller or fry cook, SpongeBob, performing heart surgery, we want to view everyone as being equal. So having said that, because Americans are obsessed with this foundational document,
he's disappeared.
It's a quasi-religion, okay? Say what?
They talk about it.
Oh, I carry on. You just faded for a moment.
Yeah. Oh, that was part of my magical power, Stu.
I know. It was amazing, and I was entranced. Carry on.
Now I've completely lost. Okay, I haven't completely lost my train of thought.
You said it was religious.
It's a quasi. Okay, yeah. Our American Bill of Rights has become a quasi-religion to the right wing,
which is kind of like which is the same as most religions. Which is the same as most religions, where most people have just a vague idea of what it is, and mostly just go with what other people tell them.
What?
Just like most religions.
So our First Amendment of the Bill of Rights here in the United States is freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom to assemble, which we'll talk about. That's all included in James Madison, our fourth president of the United States, our shortest president at 5'4", and little bit of trivia, because I love James Madison. He was a classicist like me, and he could write Greek with one hand and Latin with the other hand while shit-faced at the same time.
Well, they were constantly shit-faced back then.
He was doing this as like a pub trick, all right? Like he could write Greek and Latin with both hands at the same time. Yeah. So James Madison.
That is impressive. I want to fuck that dude. That's the sort of shit that turns me on, mate. That's impressive.
I appreciate that. I really do. Of course, he's been dead for a couple hundred years, but whatever.
Well, I like old dudes, but that's pushing it.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Anyway, so
you have to take a tooth and drill in, extract the DNA, and wait a few years.
And that's the funniest part. Despite the fact, this is the real contradiction here, Stu. I feel like I'm a little tipsy and probably talking too much.
No, good. But, it's so good.
Despite the fact that all of these rednecks apocalypse, as Jeff is calling them, have followed our Bill of Rights and Constitution as a quasi-religion, what they fail to realize is that our founding fathers, 5-1, were products of the Enlightenment and completely eschewed religion entirely. They were not Christians. They weren't atheists, but they were deists, like most of the people in the
which the closest thing is like the Force, right? The closest thing to deism is like the Force.
Well, deism is deism, but I could roll with the Force. Sure.
Does it have any connection to Zoroastrianism?
It does not.
Okay.
In terms of deism and Enlightenment thinking, of course, Voltaire popularized, I believe. He wasn't the originator of deism. And of course, I teach philosophy, so this is one of the things I talk about. But he definitely popularized deism. And so our founding fathers here in America were students of the classics of, these ancient thinkers like Cicero, but also of people like Voltaire and definitely John Locke. John Locke's a biggie. And people are like, oh, but John Locke was religious. And like, not really. John Locke isn't the Christian guy that you think he is. So, these right-wing nut jobs have no understanding of what these original, what these founding fathers are really coming from in terms of worldview, and they've perverted it completely. So going back to your question, Stu, about why the American fascination with firearms, I don't have a fascination with firearms. However, I do own a firearm because I don't want to be victimized by some other asshat with a firearm. But I do keep it under lock and key and in a safe place. It's just there.
Pretty much.
How? Okay, we're only on question 1.
I know, right?
Yeah,
but we're covering a
5
multitude of topics.
So, imagine having to trust your well-being to ignorant, unreasonable people with guns.
I live in Cumbria.
Beautiful Cumbria.
It's beautiful. We don't have guns. We do have guns, but the
rifles, right?
Well, it's mostly for hunting pheasants.
Yeah.
I don't. I believe my partner for years had a license for one, but yes, we're not allowed to shoot people with them. It's against.
Well, neither are we.
Really?
We're not allowed to shoot unless they invade our space. Then we can shoot them all we want, right?
Is that within 2 meters?
The South Park episode. They're heading right for us.
They're heading right for us.
Anyway, so that's it. Okay,
so should we move to the question 2?
Sure. We are. Thank you, Stu. Namaste.
Namaste.
Of course, I'm gonna move us around because this topic is probably one of the biggest ones to come out of the Great Pause, and
it's hard to keep track of which one is which.
Speaking of the Great Pause, this has all gone proper whack on my end. This has gone whack on my end. Is it meant to look like that?
What?
It's this one. Yeah, it takes up most of the screen. It's a little.
Yeah, that looks weird.
Oh, it apps. Okay, because there was so much, I was trying to fit it all in one slide.
Okay, cool. All right. I have no idea what to focus on, but it's all good. That's you.
I know. You both have ADD, so you're probably like, "Fuck me."
Lead the way.
Whereas me, I'm like, I didn't want to make it I actually do make it 2 different slides, but that's because
I know it says, will white people forget about George Floyd? Who's George Floyd? I'm kidding.
George Floyd. Oh my God.
Lloyd.
Oh.
So I was playing into it.
I know. Okay. Yeah, bastard. Okay, so obviously this was all going down. And speaking of March 13th, Friday, March 13th, that is the exact day that Breonna Taylor, some cops in Louisville, Kentucky, which is about 3 hours away from where my wife grew up.
Can I just point one thing out here?
Yes, what?
There's way too many capital letters in the sentence. Will white people forget about George Floyd? Every single that's not right.
Well, you got to.
It should be a capital letter on every single. That's just
will.
It depends on the usage.
It's not right. It's just.
But generally, headlines. Oh my God, headlines are a little bit loosey goosey. Depending on where
if Richard Russo was paid for that, he needs to be fired.
Oh my God. Perhaps. Anyway. Aside from that, like I said, March 13th was the day that some police officers acted on a false warrant and knocked down the wrong door and shot and killed Breonna Taylor, who was a paramedic in Louisville, Kentucky, and murdered her while she slept. Her boyfriend, who didn't know what was happening, and if you were, she's what, 27 when I think she passed away. Even in 27, when you wake up out of a dead sleep to somebody barging through your door, what your first instinct is going to be defend yourself. So he fired back at these police officers, not knowing who or what they were. They actually arrested him and were going to charge him
with her murder.
With her murder and for firing at the police officers. Of course, after the unrest, those charges were dropped. Obviously, I would hope, and we still do not have the justice for Breonna. So
this is the first I've heard of this. This is
really
all this shit is about the drug war.
That's shocking. That is absolutely shocking.
In some respect, it does sort of come back to that in either direct or indirect routes.
Yeah, a lot of these no-knock raids are so people can't flush evidence. And there's a guy I listen to on YouTube called Bo of the Fifth Column, and he said if there's only enough drugs that they could flush it, is that really worth killing a person?
That's true. And obviously that's brought up this other issue in America about police brutality and things like that. But going, I don't want to be just American centric necessarily here, Stu, because I'm sure.
For me,
well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is a whole different, a different, but it's the same topic, but we live in a society. We live in a place where it's difficult because we're forced to live in a way that we do, and we're taught this is who you should be, and it's difficult to live in this world where we're being told to think in a certain way and be in a certain way, and then there's another side of society that says, you're in pain, here's something you can take to stop you feeling this pain. And that thing which makes you stop feeling that pain, which is not taxable, generally. They could make it taxable. They could choose to make it taxable, but it's not taxable.
They have in a number of states. Most of them, actually. The majority, I should say.
Yeah. And it's these... So... The cause of the problem in itself is not being addressed by the governments.
True.
So what they could do, but there's a number of solutions which they don't choose to do. The one and most important thing which they're not choosing to do, because it won't help the capitalist system, it won't help them make any money, is address the initial problem, which is the disconnect between people. Is the disconnect between what is right in me and the disconnect in everybody. So the things that they could make money from is then the taxation on the drugs, which will stop the pain or momentarily stop and deal with the pain for a moment. So so the pain won't go away until you address it. It's not going to happen, but it won't be addressed. You can't do it through monetary things. It's not part of the system. It is not part of the system that because it's not going to make money in the sense of what you meditate twice a day. That's not going to make money, but it will make you as an individual and as a people, as people together. It will make us as a society better people. We will communicate better. We will work better together. We will produce better. The world will be better. The climate change will be less. We will think about that actually we are a part of the earth and not that we are in charge of the earth. We will actually say that we are one with the earth if we choose to participate with it. But the moment that our ego allows us to step outside of it, that's, if you want to monetize that, you can. That's what the systems, but they're choosing not to, because the top 1%, who are making all the money, who are creaming off for all that, will keep you in fear, because that's keeping them rich. That's keeping them in control.
which is actually coming up and something that we're going to talk about.
Well, damn it! You should. Anyway, sorry.
No. It's cool because it's all related, right? We are now paying the price of this economic system,
and a lot of it's for something as innocuous as weed.
Yeah, right. Which obviously there has been a major shift in the thinking about how that particular drug should be treated, and of course, like they've done in other nations, is treat like in Portugal, they've treated all drugs. They've decriminalized everything, and it's all treated differently. And they're all having from what I can tell, what I have read in various news outlets, how they have gone about drug treatment and the legalization of drugs in Portugal has been fairly successful, from what I can tell.
Well, they probably don't have for-profit prisons.
True.
And huge pharmaceutical donors.
Ooh, big pharma.
So yeah, with these private prisons, they actually have a quota that they are said. The state actually agrees. It's like, okay, we'll make sure you have this many beds filled at all time.
Yeah. So it's obviously crooked. It's a crooked system. It's rigged against people of color, and so that's one of the things that we have to confront as a society. And boy, oh boy, the first thing I wanted to mention is, if you look at what, of course, George Floyd's murder had the most uproar, I think, in the worldwide, and it's weird that you haven't even heard of Breonna Taylor, Stu, because they were they happened very close in time.
There's so many of them, you lose track of them. There was another There was another woman who it was the same shit. There was a no-knock raid. They were looking for somebody.
No knock.
Yeah, no. You don't know what a no-knock raid is?
They just bust down the door. They don't tell. They're not like, knock, knock, we have a warrant. They're like, fuck you, we're going in.
Yeah, they
just. Is that legal?
Yeah, if you have the proper warrant.
If you have the proper warrant,
and that's what happened. They did a no-knock raid, and they busted into her house, and the boyfriend,
which was the suspect they were looking for, was already in jail at that time.
No.
Yes. And it was the wrong address on the warrant.
Well, that actually happens all the time because
yeah, I'm sure
criminals don't fill out that change of address form.
Duh.
So, but anyways, there was another woman about that, maybe a little earlier, where they were circling the house to prepare to do a no-knock raid, and one of the cops, he looks in the window, and she sees him, and she starts to freak out, and she goes, he thought she was going for a gun, and so he shot her right through the window.
Jesus.
Off.
Yeah. She was lying in her own bed, and he shot her dead.
How long ago was this?
A month or two before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to ask a very blunt question.
Yeah.
Is there a fear which is put into the white populace of America about black people?
Oh, definitely. They've been trying to. The more they can make us fight amongst ourselves, even with all our common interests, the more they can siphon money from the rest of us and get away with it.
Right.
But yeah, it's demagoguery. They're
let
ruling by fear.
Yeah, never let a good tragedy go to waste.
I understand that we're all white guys from different
well, and that was one of my concerns about doing that one interview that I had done, is like, are people of color represented? And thankfully there were. But yeah, obviously we're speaking from a position, like we are speaking from positions of power as white male individuals. It doesn't disqualify our voice. It does and should lessen it to a degree. However, say what?
I think as long as you're logical enough and empathetic enough that you can realize that anyone being victimized is wrong.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
Base levels.
We've had this thing recently here in the UK that there's a statue taken down, and I'm really bad at details.
Right, which has been a product of all this, right?
Of that slaver?
Basically,
that was at Oxford.
I don't know the deal. Somewhere up north, so it wasn't. So it wasn't Oxford.
Okay.
But basically, I'm in two. My heart is torn in two parts of the thing, in the sense of that for me, it's important to there's a place, we have a history, and and our world is built upon the history that we have. It's mucky, it's dirty, it's horrible, but it is still our history. It's still what our nations are built upon. And it's as horrible as it might be, it is still the reality of what happened. So what we have now is built upon those things which happened then.
Yep.
So I'm torn in a sense of what you tear down the history which was there. So there was a slaver who made a profit upon the backs of black people who worked horribly and probably died for these people who built these cities and towns on the backs of other people. What we need to do now is say thank you and sorry for what has happened in the past. We can't change it, but we must respect what has happened. So an artist came along, Mark something, came and there was a woman who stood on the plinth where the statue was torn down. And he's a white guy with lots of money, Mark Quinn, that's his name, and he had the availability and means to put the statue on the place.
Yeah.
Of what? So that was appropriating it.
It was a Black Lives Matter statue, right?
But
okay.
And so as a woman, it was a woman who was on the protest, who helped bring the statue of the guy down. She helped bring that statue down in the first place, and she stood on the plinth where the statue initially was. So her image was placed upon that place which it was before. But she and herself, she is married to a white man, and the guy who made the art to put the place in the statue was a white, middle-class, rich man. So he is now getting taken. He is being. People are saying it should have been a black man who put that thing in the place to do that thing, and it would have been socially more acceptable to do that thing. And part of me is really torn as an artist, and it's kind of going. Actually, what's important is that we talk about the thing, and that. It shouldn't matter who has the power to do that now. The fact that somebody, whoever their race is, who has the power, who has the money to invest in that place, is putting the money and to say, this is what's important, this is what's happened, this is a mark in time, we need to say it right. That's the end of what happened there. That is the end of it. And we move forward together as one people. Does that make sense?
I hope the goal.
It does.
I hope the goal eventually is like, okay, you're black, you have freckles, you have green eyes, you have brown eyes. Who cares?
Exactly.
You're people.
Eventually. Obviously, the conversation, because all of this is happening all at once, it really is. We are forced to confront all of these conversations within such a small amount of time. We're not able to parse out what should and should not be included in the conversation, who should and should not be included in the conversation, and what precisely we need to enact first in terms of priority. And of course, one of the main focal points of the Black Lives Matters movement is to enact true justice in our legal system, starting with justice for Breonna Taylor. We're getting some justice for George Floyd, a little bit. Obviously, the trials are on set to go off in a while. But
now, have either of you had somebody put their knee in the back of your neck like that?
probably just you.
All right, yeah, because I do martial arts. So yeah,
I've never been that lucky sexually.
Well, we had one of my
That's a kink, really.
One of my instructors growing up was a cop, and he would teach us, what was called.
Is that an actual thing?
What?
Which part?
Is that an actual move? Was that taught as a?
Oh
no,
yeah,
it's not.
Oh, it's
not. But in the police academy, it was. You're not supposed to do that. They are explicitly don't do that.
Does.
They do it anyway. They do it anyway.
In police academy, it was just funny voices, and there's that.
Okay, not that. Not the police academy franchise. No.
Well,
I've had it because I really like that.
I've had it done to me in training and stuff, and it is unpleasant for 30 seconds. He put his knee on the back of his neck for like 9 minutes almost.
Yeah.
Yep.
After he was handcuffed, there was absolutely no point.
And I want to throw this out to you guys, because this is one of the questions I got because the Russian people don't understand. George Floyd is a criminal. Why should we care? That was the question I got.
I don't understand why he was a criminal. Can you not rectify? Can you clarify?
He had a rap sheet. Okay, he had his conviction for armed robbery was, I think, in like 2002 or 2007. It was a while ago. Like, he was convicted for armed robbery. He did serve some time. However, that was in Houston, Texas, and where he was eventually murdered is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is a considerable. I mean, that's like 3,000 kilometers away. So it's a ways from where he grew up. Obviously, George Floyd had, cliche, but like he seemed to have turned over a new leaf. And what George Floyd was accused of, even now there is no evidence to support that he did this, but he was accused of using a counterfeit $20 bill at like a convenience store, which is, low denomination of currency. And then the officer who's actually in prison now for his murder, they knocked on his door. They were asking him questions, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" And of course, they took his surprise at being questioned about something he was purported not to have done as non-compliant and refusal to answer questions, which exacerbated.
Well, let me ask you guys a question.
Yes.
How can you be sure that you have never received and then passed on a counterfeit bill?
I worked in a pub. I probably did it a number of times.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So $20. So $20 is worth a man's life. Really?
Yeah. I mean, that is fucked up. So anyway,
there was a history apparently between George Floyd and the cop who kneeled on him. They were bouncers at a bar, I think. And
yes,
so they had history together.
But there's no actual evidence that they interacted very well. Like they might not have actually ever spoken to each other. And if they did, it was very minimal.
I heard that George Floyd was above him, as far as who's in charge in the nightclub, and that George didn't like how excessively violent the cop was.
That's interesting. Although that is speculative.
Okay, but speculatively, this was personal as well.
It could, like that.
Well, they knew each other.
Could have been.
They knew each other.
Right.
But
that's not national news. On national news, it's not said over here that. What I've received is that George Floyd and the man who killed him did not know each other. That,
from what I have read, there was no real interaction between the two. So, Jeff, I mean, that wherever you're getting that news information, it's an interesting take. Obviously, I would like to see some documentation or interviews about people who had worked there alongside them, which of course is something I hope we'll learn about in the future. Anyway, and just to move the conversation forward, I did include the Wikipedia screenshot, at least part of it. I wanted to see the list of George Floyd protests outside of the United States. Yep. We have Eastern Africa, Northern Africa, Southern Africa, Western Africa, Asia, Central Eastern Asia, Southern Asia.
Right.
Yeah. In other words, protests against police brutality and against the inequality and how our society, as a collected whole, treats people of African descent is something that we are currently taking issue with.
And it's nice to know that no matter how big a dicks Americans can be, that the rest of the world still cares about us.
Well, apparently they've, with all that's been going on with Trump lately, like we are receiving a fair amount of pity as well.
Pity us, pity.
German people are especially like all the poor educated, Americans having to put up with this right now. I'm like, yes, why? Why?
What about that we would send thank you to the Germans?
Right, exactly. Who knew, right?
Here, have universal health care.
Yeah, of
not
course.
For us, though.
No. Rayshard Brooks, who was Donald Trump called a thug. He was drunk going through the drive-through. Was it a Burger King?
Oh, was that the Wendy's one where he fell asleep?
Oh, Wendy's. Yeah, in Atlanta, and he was belligerent. They tased him. It didn't work very well because he was loaded. And they shot him. They killed him because he was drunk and not listening.
Is that what happens after you get tasered? If it doesn't work, then they'll just fucking kill you.
Just like, all right, you know what?
There's a level here.
Set phasers on kill, right?
Yeah, no shit.
Damn.
This other one, Elijah McClain, that's the one who is, let me see if my cursor's over here. He's the young guy. He was 23 years old. He looked younger.
Oh.
He was going home at night. He was wearing a hoodie because he said he got cold. And, like as an educator, like I've had kids like this my entire career. So Elijah McClain, he was coming home. He's the kind of kid who, was playing probably like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons with friends. He's like the nerdy, quiet kid. And they have a transcript from the police about what he was saying. It's like, please, sir, I can't breathe, please, sir. And it's like, this is the ongoing story for these African Americans. Like they can't breathe and nobody listens. And
the hand-to-hand combat training of cops is a joke.
Which you've said for years, and I don't remember if we've actually ever talked about it in one of our previous shows, but obviously this has been a problem for a while, and it's now come to a head.
Do you realize thousands of people around the world doing judo and jiu-jitsu and other martial arts get choked out every day, and they don't die because they don't crush their throats because they know exactly how much pressure to apply.
I did judo growing up, and my sister was an absolute bitch, but she never fucking killed me.
Yeah.
Wait. So you're not dead?
So you've probably been choked out.
I am here.
So you've probably been choked out.
Totally. But I never passed a white belt.
What?
And that's not a racial slur. I just never passed. I just never got beyond white belt.
Oh, never got beyond white belt. Gotcha.
But have you been choked out before?
Yeah, but that was sexual.
Oh, I've been choked out non-sexually.
Oh my God!
I've been knocked. I just thought that was a good line.
No, that's great. That's great.
It was a good line.
We're keeping it.
But like I said, I've been choked out. I never felt like I was in any danger.
Did you pass out?
Dying. Oh yeah.
Did you pass out?
Yeah, being choked out is much better than being knocked out. You see like rainbows and shapes and pretty colors.
Cool.
You wake up and
unicorns.
You wake up and you're like,
are unicorns shitting rainbows?
And you wake up. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
What happens is you're kicking into your pituitary gland. And when you do that, your pineal gland, and you're releasing more dimethyltryptamine.
DMT.
And you start tripping.
Yeah.
But the point is, so many people get choked out every day, all over the world, and they don't die because the people doing the choking know what they're doing. And
Amazing.
so if a cop can't choke somebody out without killing them, then what the hell's going on? That's terrible training.
Yeah,
Well,
and you don't invite them for a date ever.
Yeah. And the last one I was going to mention is Elijah McClain. They weren't cops. This is the one instance where they're not, but he was just jogging, running through the neighborhood, and also Atlanta area.
Speaking of the redneck apocalypse, that is kind of an example of what we're talking about.
Yes,
you know what we're talking about, Stu?
Armand Arbery.
You have many rednecks in Florida?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
The whole
because the way that we get it spun over here is that most rednecks are from sort of Texas and the border of.
I mean, it's the southeastern United States is like the redneck area, and
it's like Deliverance.
Okay, Florida's a weird place because so many people.
Fuck you like a pig.
I squeal like a pig, boy.
Squeal like a pig.
Edit that bitch.
Wow. That devolved quickly.
Really quickly.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say is people from the north moved to Florida, and of course Tampa is kind of like, it's so weird because I bought a house just over a year ago in an area just north of Tampa, and I didn't realize it because they used to tell me when I moved here, like, oh, when you go to Florida, you go so far south that you're north again, and the joke is that everybody from basically Tampa south is either
from the north.
Is either from the north or they're from Hispanic nations or whatever.
Cuban and stuff.
But I didn't know that I was crossing over when I bought my house into the area that was still like kind of redneck country. So there's, but I also live around a lot of very, it's a lot of elderly people where I live, and more so than Tampa. And
so I would like to. I see my dad's quite redneck. I have a step family. I don't speak to my dad very often, but my step family, I've got some step family in the States. And my step family are very much more redneck America, I suppose.
Oh wow, where do they live?
Yeah.
I don't speak to my dad very often. So I don't really.
Well, if they're like that, I don't.
But and also he's. It's an odd thing because I've not spoken to my dad for about 2 years, but every time I've gone across this Confederate flags.
Confederate flag.
Confederate flags.
It's the Confederate battle flag. That's the one they typically fly.
Confederate flags. So he's got that in his house, but he's also got up pictures of Native American Indians.
Wait, Stu.
Yeah,
your dad lives here.
No, my dad lives in England,
and he has Confederate flag up
in his house.
Does not
what
with pictures of Native American Indians at the same time.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Can you see why I might be a little bit mentally fizzly?
Yes.
We were so nice to the Native Americans.
Is this now starting to make sense?
Oh my God!
But as we're talking about that perfect example of the redneck apocalypse, two guys with shotguns in a pickup truck ran down this guy who was jogging.
Yeah,
and then approached him, and stuck a shotgun in his face.
Right.
And lo and behold, they weren't dressed as cops; they were just dressed as
they were making a citizen's arrest.
So you put a gun in someone's face, and you're not a cop. They're probably going to fight back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did, and they killed him for it.
And he was unarmed, but he rightfully thought these men were going to kill him.
They were a danger to him,
and they murdered him.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the guy who filmed it, who apparently is like a white supremacist, and the father and the son who actually killed Armand Arbery are all under charges for that. So
they were basically cleared to begin with, though. It wasn't until the
begin with, and it wasn't until the great pause, as we're calling it, that we've been able to say, whoa.
The video came out that they thought would help their case in showing us, like, well, he grabbed for the gun you shoved in his face, right? Well, yeah, he's dangerous. You shoved a gun in his face, and he's dangerous.
Oh my God!
You might want to come in for some more questions.
That's further why
I have to thank you now for helping me just appreciate where I live.
Can I move, please?
Because this is a weird thing. Because when growing up, I was like, I want to live in America. I want to live in America. I always had this thing when I was little.
Yeah.
Because I was obsessed with the movies from the States. And
can you sponsor us, Stu?
Please.
You think I have money? I'm a folk singer and an artist.
You just have to like write down that we're not schlubs, right? Isn't that what sponsoring is? We're not murderers.
Have you met
thieves?
Boris Johnson?
No, don't care to. Nah. Anyway, for sake of time, we've already been talking for an hour and 10 minutes. So let's go
questions.
Oh yeah,
we're having fun.
Yes. Questions. Oh, that's how many we've gotten done.
Two.
I figured if we talk for too long, then
I have no idea who these guys. So
we'll make this a two-parter. I just wanted to throw this up here because not throw this out here, not throw up, but. Although these guys make me want to throw up. These are the police officers who murdered Breonna Taylor, who are still at large. Only one of them has even been fired. No one has been brought up on charges, and therefore I would just like to say that today is a great day for justice for.
Can I just say that I've never seen these guys before, but they all look like the same guy, but like with about 10 years in between each of them.
Wow, yeah, a little bit.
No, I'm saying
it's like younger version, middle-aged
I want to kill him. I've killed him. Shit, I killed him.
Oh my God, that's kind of it. Yeah, there they are. John Mattingly, Brett Hankinson, Miles Cosgrove. Yeah, they deserve to be.
Who's got the most shit-eating grin? I'd say the guy in the middle.
Probably. Well. I thought the one on the right seems the furthest. I think that he's actually the one that got fired.
Oh, fine. The guy in the middle had the most, like, I just farted and I don't want you to know look on his face.
Okay, so obviously I would probably want to do this as a topic for an entire day. But
yeah.
Dear Stuart, you live in a nation which practices
communism.
More form of socialism than we do in the United States. Yes. And of course, people
don't know the difference between communism and socialism.
They don't.
No.
And that there's different types of communism, different types of socialism.
Maybe I should have put there you go. Capitalism, socialism. Maybe I should have done the socialism. Yeah, then. Maybe I should have done the communism, socialism.
There is the difference between communism and socialism. And I would probably see myself within a socialist very light capitalist, but predominantly socialist point of view.
We're that way too, right?
Jeff and I'm
not averse to making money, but I don't want to fuck anybody over.
No,
exactly.
And that's one of those things. Okay, so that brings up the point. So during this great pause, Amazon has been making bank, and of course Jeff Bezos, who is a liberally minded, like he's a liberal individual. He owns the Washington Post, which is one of the few newspapers in America that we actually have good reporting from. But even still, Jeff Bezos is kind of like this, you gotta treat him with kid gloves kind of thing, even though they've sort of rebelled against that. Jeff Bezos, he's worth $189 billion.
It's the bald dude here.
Yes, yeah, right in the middle there. He's the guy that owns Amazon, and
he's worth $189 billion, and he can't afford a fucking wig.
He doesn't need a wig.
Is sexy, baby.
He has that. His money is his wig.
Oh shit!
In it.
No, he made like 63. He made like 63 million just in a few short weeks or something like that. Like he was rolling in it just because everybody's been ordering from Amazon and doing shopping from Amazon, grocery shopping from Amazon, things like that.
Since the Great Pause, this has been the biggest transfer of wealth in human history.
Which was the CARES Act, right? Which caused
and the $5 trillion,
and a lot of it went to the wealthy,
markets.
And of course, it was just transfer. We spent, they got. So he's now worth 189 billion. He is the richest man in the world.
First question, going back, how much is 1/3 of his worth?
Ooh, not as much as Tom Brady's apparently.
Ooh.
I don't know if you saw that South Park episode. Sorry.
I did not.
I had not watched it in years, but I'm like, I'm going to watch this, and it was good.
With these billionaires, you do wonder. It's like, how much could the people under them embezzle before they'd even notice? That there was some missing.
That's true. Well, that's why they hire accountants, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've been trying to put in some memes to keep things a little bit lighthearted. Otherwise, I get too sad and pissed off about it.
Gallows humor.
Well, the only thing I'm not kidding about is on March 6, 1982, Ayn Rand made her most important contribution to mankind.
Love that.
She died.
She was a fucking hypocrite. She used social programs towards the end of her life.
Well,
tell me more
it's because
she says
because I'll say it in a second. Ayn Rand says she cashed in her Social Security checks because she paid into Social Security checks, and said she was just getting her money back, is how she justified that. I don't necessarily think that was hypocritical of her. However,
that a lot of people who follow her teachings want to get rid of those social programs.
Yes. Stu, Ayn Rand is she's a Russian American. She immigrated from Russia into the United States nearly a century ago. As a young woman, she's most notable for having written 2 major tomes. They're novels. They're shitty as can be.
Atlas Shrugged
Story
and
sucks.
Fountainhead.
The writing is garbage, and of course the political and philosophical agenda. I use the term philosophical loosely because it's not real philosophy.
And the reason it's popular is it makes people who screw people over to get ahead feel good about themselves.
That's exactly it. It's a sweeping justification for shitting on humanity for the sake of money. I have nothing but vitriol for Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead are the biggies.
So the egoic void is so huge that they're able to put something out in the world to attach to somebody else's massive lack.
Yes.
That they can make money off of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it just sort of brings up, speaking of the Great Pause, we are now again confronting capitalism versus socialism, and I've had a number of conversations regarding this. I have a very close friend of mine who also immigrated from the former Soviet Union. She was born and grew up in Leningrad, which is St. Petersburg, Russia now, but she immigrated in the 80s during the Cold War. It was actually towards the end of the Cold War. And we've had these conversations. And for her, socialism and communism, of course, communism, but socialism even itself, is a boogeyman. And without regard to, like what we said, what socialism entails. Stu, go ahead.
So in Russia right now.
Yes.
What's going on? What's happened? What is the mainframe thinking? Is it capitalism? Is it communism? Is it socialism? We all know on a global pandemic, on a global scale that.
Well, I don't think there are any bread lines any longer.
It's an oligarchic system.
It's absolutely oligarchic autocracy.
Explain this to somebody who to tell me, talk to me like I'm an 8-year-old.
Okay, you explain, Jeffrey. I'm going to go to the loo.
We can no.
No, tell me okay. Talk to me, Jeff. Talk
Okay.
to me
Well,
imagine I'm in Pulp Fiction. Talk to me like I'm an 8-year-old. Tell me what is an oligarchic system, because there'll be people out there who want to know.
Rule by the influence of money.
Right.
The rich make it's the old golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules.
Okay.
There was a study a few years ago where it was like 90-something% of the stuff that people want and they ask the government to do in America gets no traction, and that 90+% of the stuff that does happen is all influenced by the upper 20, but mostly less than 1% of the American population make 90+% of the rules and decisions that govern the rest of us. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's our opinion doesn't matter. I mean, the two-party system keeps us in a gridlock that and the ability for the rich to donate as much as they can. You have no idea how much time the politicians, they spend most of their time fundraising for their next election.
Yep.
And so that tells you where the rules are coming from. The people who gave them their donations. If
we all within the system that we're presented with, I'm writing a book, as you know, Jemima in the balcony, and I've actually come to a
guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what panpsychism is?
What?
Panpsychism?
No. That's where you watch a bunch of psych episodes?
That the universe is alive, and I think all the shit we talked about toilet paper, it just got me, because I swear to God, my toilet paper in my bathroom just attacked me. All I did was take a couple squares off, and it just rolled everywhere. Whoa, sorry, I interrupted.
Law of attraction.
It doesn't like being rationed.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Use me,
baby. Yes. Shove me on that asshole.
So basically, see if you concur. Oligarchy is a rule by the influence of money.
Ruled by the wealthy elite, right?
Yeah, by the influence of money. And I remember that study a few years ago where it was 90+, something like 94, 96% of public opinion matters not at all, and the rest. So yeah, the rest is so 96% of people don't get what they want, and that last little bit, and it mostly comes from.
So, I was mentioning just today before, I'm now at a point in the book which I'm writing as Jemima the Black Unicorn. I'm on chapter 11, which is kind of the pinnacle of where the story's ending. And it's exactly what is happening. What Jeff's talking about right now is the people of the city. The city I've chosen is called Gabasentium, which is, in a sense, it's Rome, is basically, but in England.
Londinium.
So Gabosentium is what I'm calling it. So, but the idea right now, what's happening in the story is that the people themselves are overpowering the man, which are the men of Gelt. So basically, the men of Gelt hold the 1%. The people themselves hold the 99%. The people themselves, so they really within themselves individually have the power. So together, so the money is saying that you are little, you are less, you are nothing. We are separating you. You are not. So we are instilling fear in you to move you against each other. So the hero of the story, my Jemima, is coming along to saying, actually, no, I am one with the universe. I am one with God, for want of a better terminology. I am what I am. What I am within the moment. I am here. I am listening to, and every single individual has the same urge, which goes beyond the want of the new Xbox, the new toy of whatever it is, which is happening, which to fill that void, to stop them feeling that pain.
Yeah.
Because that is the main crux of what we all go through as individuals, because we have that the disconnect of knowing, because I'm here, I'm sitting in England, in Cumbria, in the middle of somewhere I didn't think I would ever be at the age of 42, and you're sitting there in Florida, in your various places, and we're having this conversation. We wouldn't, as children, we would never have envisaged this conversation. But in a dream, it might have been like an absolute fantasy. Exactly, we would have flying in hoverboards and all the rest of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was a part of our minds that would never, ever been able to actually envisage this as our actual reality. And this is our actual reality. This is what we're living in. And my point is, if we all collectively believe in a thing, we can make it change. If we all collectively believe in a positive thing together, that those who say that they're in charge, they're not fucking in charge. We are. We as individuals, we have the control to be able to say what you're doing with George Floyd, what you're doing with the non-equality of people in hierarchy. Hierarchy is something which you have put in to make you more powerful. We actually are in charge of this. This is our time. This is look back to the Goonies. This is our time. This is where we are, and this up there. That's their time. Down here, this is our time. This is what we need to own right now. Do you know what I'm saying? That was the story which was given to me back then. This is our time. This is I'm not a millennial, as you know, but we are in charge.
We're exennials.
But we can make the change. It is up to us, and to say to our peers, we need to take charge of this, because these bastards aren't doing it. They want it for them, and what we want it for us, for all of us.
Our government has ceased to function.
In many regards, yes, and obviously, I'm throwing a bunch of stuff out here with this particular slide. And when Stu mentioned the gray pause, it's funny how we had Bernie Sanders running for president in 2016. He is a socialist. Yes, he ran again this year and lost out to Joe Biden. However, because just what Stu said with the generations are now confronting the sins of our past, and one of those sins that we have to confront is unfettered capitalism. And no, whatever is being practiced right now is not Adam Smith's economic theory of capitalism. What we are experiencing now is a gross perversion of that.
Well, the term that's been coined is corporate socialism.
I don't know if I like the term, the semantics of that one.
Well, when they need help, when big business needs help, the government's there to bail them out. Which did happen in 2009, right? With taxpayer money. So they get social programs to help them.
Social welfare,
social welfare. But the rest of us, bootstraps.
And that's part of the problem. Speaking of Russia, the Soviet, former Soviet Union, that age of history, it was part of this American dialogue, and was probably part of the dialogue in the UK to some degree, but especially here. Socialism was equated with, and I have it down here in this meme, communism.
Or Nazis.
Or Nazis. Because
the Nationalist Socialist Party. The problem is the nationalism came first in that instance.
Well, and
that makes sense.
And that does make sense.
They were more nationalists than socialists.
So the term socialism has been taboo, so essentially for decades, and we're now only just now with the more the millennials, Generation Z, and to some, I guess, like we're exennials, we're willing to talk about it. Some of us are.
Well, exennials. You've said that that's the second time you've said that.
Which one?
And exennials.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense to me now.
Yeah, apparently we're a part of a micro generation, so we have both attributes of millennials and Generation X.
So we're not Gen X, and we're not millennials. We're exennials. That totally makes that.
It does make sense.
Oh, I love you.
I never felt like the one before or the one after.
Exactly.
That's why. Stuck in the middle.
We are middle children.
Yes, the middle children. Tyler, you're gonna go Tyler Durden.
We are Malcolm. I am Malcolm. Are you Malcolm?
Malcolm in the middle.
We are all Malcolm.
Anyway, so like we're having this conversation now as part of this great pause where we didn't have Bernie as our Democratic nominee, obviously by now, but we have at least started to salvage the word, even though like Noam Chomsky, I'm a huge Noam Chomsky fan. Stu, do you know Noam Chomsky?
Yeah. He's amazing.
It's somebody I had to study. He's somebody I studied in college and university for both linguistics. He's somebody I studied in philosophy, and of course, he's somebody I was interested in as a thinker. But when it comes to Noam Chomsky, he has very particular ideas about politics and how the world should run. And he's one of the most brilliant men who's ever lived. He does have his faults, obviously, but he advocates for I don't want to say a dismantling of capitalism, but to the extent that he's calling it what it is now, and he's a nonagenarian now, and he's still fighting the good fight, even from his home in Arizona, having interviews now, trying to convince us that, what we are experiencing now is not the version of capitalism that you think it is. What Jeff just said, how it's essentially a corporate welfare system, and we are the pawns within the system, is exactly where we're at. So even though I have friends who are leftists, who are Marxists, and I sort of agree with some of those ideas, just the fact that in America, we have socialist programs as a direct, like they were instituted under FDR, Franklin Roosevelt, before World War II. Socialism saved America from the Great Depression before the onset of World War II.
They have tons of bullshit arguments. We still are reaping
the benefits.
They have tons of bullshit arguments to counter that.
Obviously, but I'm saying is we are already experiencing socialism within our society. We go to public schools
which they want to get rid of,
financed by, some of them, yes, that are financed by the government. Even public universities receive a sizable chunk of money from the government here in the United States. We drive on roads that are made in a socialist way. We tax, and we use those taxes to make. So we're not talking about, hey, I want free healthcare, I want free college. We're talking about, I want my taxes to go towards those things.
Yeah.
And that way, the government...
But I think the only people who would argue against a socialist system would specifically be capitalists.
People don't want to pay more taxes. People don't want to pay more taxes.
Well, do you know how much I pay in healthcare for my family a month?
Insane amount.
I pay 55% of my take home, or my gross pay per month, or per paycheck actually, goes towards my family's healthcare, and that's just the healthcare.
If I had kids and I was paying that, I'd be hoping my kids get sick.
I know, like for years I didn't use it, and now I'm just like, yeah, fuck you guys, I'm getting my money's worth now.
Well, and the thing is, they always say, it's free. Oh, they want free healthcare. They want free healthcare.
I'd be taking my kids into public places and rubbing them against people. Get the COVID. I need my money worth, man. I need my money.
Well, basically, a nationalized healthcare system is
not quite, but close.
A nationalized healthcare system is just healthcare you pay for ahead of time.
Which
we
is
already
what-
have to do that, but then we have to pay
Yeah.
after too. We have to pay twice. We have to pay before and during and when we go.
Yeah.
Instead of just paying before.
you know what in the UK what gave us a fairer system, and what gave us the NHS, socialism.
I know. I was just going to ask.
The Labour Party, 1945, brought socialism to the front of the UK politics, and we get the national health system. And you know what is trying to bring it down again is the Conservative government. The Conservative government, which we have now, are trying to pull apart and they're going, what we had here in the beginning of lockdown was clap for the NHS, they're saving lives, which they were. And the doctors and the nurses were all out there, and they were working hard to stop people dying in this awful pandemic that we're having. And we as a people were out there and clapping for a system which was instilled by a Labour government back in 1945.
Same period.
But ironically, those people who were clapping, not everybody, but the people, the majority of people who were clapping for them, still voted for
Brexit.
For a capitalist system, which included Boris Johnson, because Jeremy Corbyn came along, and Jeremy Corbyn,
who Noam Chomsky endorsed, by the way,
absolutely, and he was ultra left wing, ultra socialist, and the interesting thing was the fact that actually he was saying to the people of England, of Britain, you need to change your point of view. You need to change your frame of thinking for us all as a people to work together for us all. So you might not be able to go back to McDonald's. You might not be able to kind of have your KFC or all these luxuries. But you will have your health. You will have your house. You will have your family. You will have the important fundamental things which keep the system and who we are as a people going together and forward healthy. You will be coming closer to as individually as you are as a person without having to anesthetize your mental state with other conglomerate things. But the people didn't want to hear it because we've been so brainwashed. We are in so much
foreigners
pain.
are bad, okay?
No, it's not that. It's not that, Jeff. I'm sorry.
It wasn't just foreigners that they were.
It's not just for. We, as a people, globally in the Western culture, not specifically Eastern, but in the Western culture, we have been. What's the better terminology? We have been. When you make a wolf into a dog.
Domesticated,
that's the one. Thank you very much, James. We've been domesticated into the sense of we are beyond who we are as a species. We've been domesticated into everything so comfortable, and when we move out of our comfort, when we go beyond warmth, when we go beyond being full in our stomachs, when we go beyond being satiated in our minds in entertainment and moved away from actually who we are so susceptible into fear that they just they the 1% make so much money, and they themselves are not enlightened. They just have the power, and they and what they want is to keep that power because their fear is so, I'm not saying it's so much stronger, but they have got control of that fear. And nobody wants to let go of that. Who would want to let go? If you're in control, why would you want to let go? Why would you want to let go of that?
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense to let go of it.
There's also the concept of cognitive dissonance. What's one of the biggest socialist programs we have in America? Let me just say, socialism is bad. Support our troops.
You're talking about the military.
Yeah. Who pays for the military?
Right. And it's exponentially more expensive than anything else we have going on.
But you will hear people argue that the military is not a socialist program.
Which, of course, is garbage. Okay, well, in the interest of moving on the conversation a little bit more, we'll switch it a little bit. Like I said, I'd love to do a topic about this for an entire day. But, of course, they were blaming COVID. We needed to get going. We need to open things back up so the economy doesn't tank. Yesterday, the American GDP sank by, was it 33 or 37%, which is the largest on record. And that was when we were sort of opening things back up anyway. So we have all this blame going around because of we're not spending enough. We're not making, because GDP isn't measuring what we're exporting. Other people aren't buying American shit either. So
a lot of those gains were stock buybacks.
Yeah. Right. So even what we have is very, very limited.
It was false.
Reality.
It was fiction.
So which also lays bare the problems with the current system that we are experiencing, not just in our country, but around the world. Anyway, so we've talked a little bit about healthcare for all. We've talked a little bit about the economy and the 1%. We'll probably come back a little bit to those things later. But guess what? Socialism does not equal communism.
No.
And then, of course, socialism and capitalism. There's the Venn diagram for that.
Stuart, have you taken a political compass test?
What?
A political compass test.
What is a political compass test?
You answer a bunch of questions.
Are you lawful good, chaotic, neutral?
Kind of, yeah. Kind of.
It is like that.
You answer a bunch of questions, and then it will tell you, how left and how socialist, how libertarian, how conservative. Cat, you're knocking my.
I believe I should. I think I'm very standing much upon the socialism side of things, but I have some not massively. I don't mind making money, like I was saying earlier.
I mean, money's cool sometimes,
money's all right, but
not at the expense of the suffering of other humans.
Absolutely,
exactly.
You walk down the street. I doing the job that I do is occasionally as a film extra. I sometimes have to go to set in the middle of the night, which means in London I have to walk up on Tottenham Court Road. And unknown to the majority of people who live in London, Tottenham Court Road becomes alive in the middle of the evening, in the middle of the night.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, right.
No, it sounds nice. It really isn't.
It's not.
Not a good type of alive.
No.
Not like a let's all have fun type of alive.
No,
not Red Light District Amsterdam.
No.
I wasn't going there either.
This is kind of people asleep in tents down the main street of Tottenham Court Road, and these are people who would have probably had jobs in the city before, who their lives have just gone to shit because the capitalist system has just folded, and everything which they'd put their emphasis on and their entire lives is just collapsed around them, because that's all they knew, that's all they had, and they've ended up living in a tent in the middle of the most major city, and then the other people, some people even just, I don't know, cleaners, people working in coffee shops and looking down on them, but these were the people who before they were looking down upon. It's the system is so fragile that it's awful. It's awful. In the world, they can be hidden. The people who once saw themselves as powerful and other people saw them as powerful are hidden in this falsity, this illusion that money means something, and it doesn't. money means literally nothing.
It's a tool.
Really,
it's a tool.
It's a symbol. We are exchanging our humanity for this arbitrary, non-existent symbol.
I wrote a poem when I was about, I wish I could remember it, but when I was about 15 years old, called The Battle Between Metal and Paper. And this was before digital money happened. So basically it was kind of like, so you had the you get paper money, and you get metal money. So you get coins, and you get notes, and that was it. That was so. But the more paper and the more metal that you had, the more worth within the world you were. But I knew from a fundamental point of view that this was an absolute lie. They got going, well, actually, that paper that comes from over there comes from that tree. And I know that tree has more worth than that tree in itself. I sat there for hundreds of years, longer than I have been around. And that tree is much more worth than my ego has decided to put upon itself. The tree is just sat there and it's just been. And it has more worth within the universe. That tree, which our ego says it's doing nothing, actually that tree has made thousands and thousands upon living beings to breathe. It's allowed, whether they're conscious or unconscious, it has allowed them to be in this world that we choose to be in. It's our ego that has said to us that we're more important than that tree, and that is a lie. Does that not make sense?
No, I mean that's
if you cut down enough trees, we'll figure out that it's a lie.
You are right about that.
I can't breathe. breathe. And that's the fucking truth.
Let me smell my money.
That's what George. That's what George. I think for me personally, I'm not a black man, which obvious, but the truth which came from that is that I can't breathe, which is a truth for everybody. It's not just for black people, for white people, for Asian people, for anybody. I can't breathe. I think that's a truism for all of us within the system, which says that you can't be enough unless you are making this amount of cash. That's fucking bollocks. It's absolute bullshit.
You're right. You are on the money, sir, and
on the money.
So
you see how indoctrinated we all are.
Well, self-worth by means.
Yeah, and it's bullshit.
It is.
What did you whisper?
Because
James?
actually, my love for you and for you, Jeff, and for everybody else out there who might be listening goes beyond the worth of what the system says that you are. Because actually, I wake up in the morning and I'm fucking grateful I've woken up in the morning, because you know what? 2 years ago, I wanted to kill myself. I'm not there anymore. I don't want to die anymore, because I think if I can put not my message specifically, our message as a people, as a unity together, that we can change the world, that we can get together and say money doesn't mean anything, love means it all. Where if you're from America, if you're from England, if you're from Japan, if you're from China, if you're from Africa, if you're from anywhere, love is the only important thing that matters. Nothing else matters.
Love is the real capital. You're absolutely right.
I think we're so jaded. I think we're so jaded here in America, though, that doesn't fly very well.
There aren't even love songs on the radios anymore, gentlemen.
Make them, write them.
It's true.
Do it. You can be Neil Diamond.
Oh yeah, there's my boy.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm not gonna fist bump from Jeff.
It's a great segue.
I was imagining myself singing Neil Diamond songs.
Jeff, I did out you a little bit. I said you weren't the biggest fan
of Neil.
Shit, look what I did. We're side by side on the bottom now. I love that. Okay. I don't know how exactly I did that.
You outed me that I'm not the biggest Neil fan?
Yeah.
I think I outed myself too.
Well, I'm just saying, like, he was like, oh yeah, Jeff loves Neil Diamond. I'm like, I don't think he does.
Not
like
really.
Maybe a little bit, but
not really.
You know,
it's okay.
He's okay. As they say in the film Saving Silverman, he's the greatest singer-songwriter of this or any generation.
What about Jim Croce?
Well, actually, I'd probably go towards this guy right there.
Oh, Bowie.
Just a little bit. I mean, I do love Bowie. I do love Neil Diamond. And I do love, of course, Stephen Wilson is our Lord and Savior.
If I could save time in a bottle.
Okay, nobody's asking you to sing, Jeffrey.
Jim Croce.
Jim Croce. Not crochet. Okay.
I've only seen it written.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. You're right.
I do must prefer the visual.
Jim Croce.
Just some guy sitting in a chair,
Singing
with a bit
softly.
of wool and a couple of sticks.
Yep.
How funny
my
would it be
God.
to watch him crochet while singing Bad Leroy Brown?
That would be quite the irony, I suppose.